Fekadu, I forgot to say, is a PhD student of anthropology at the Chinese University, same as Philip, which is the next speaker, who will be talking about homing aspirations of African students in Hong Kong. Philip is from Zimbabwe, and he's been in Hong Kong for a few years, I believe.
Thank you very much, Professor Castillo and Fekadu, for your sharing. So I'm going to try to share my screen now. So I am presenting on the homing aspirations of African students that are in Hong Kong. And I'm not going to waste your time, and I'll go straight into it then. So Hong Kong has only recently begun to accept promising PhD students from sub-Saharan Africa and other developing regions around the world. What remains unclear, however, is what these students will do after they are educated in Hong Kong. Do they want to establish a home in Hong Kong? Is this legally possible? Is this culturally possible? Is this economically possible for them? What factors are involved in shaping whether Hong Kong can seem home for them? In this paper, I explore the experiences of several African students, their educational and everyday life in the city, and their hopes, dreams, and fears for the future. But let me begin by trying to define aspirations. What are aspirations? And let me be unconventional then, and from the onset, cite one student's definition as well as offer my own. The student said to me, for me, it's a dream, something that you see. You haven't achieved it, but you know, when you do some efforts, you'll be able to achieve it. I can see the merits or positive things to becoming who I aspire to be. The question is the work that you must go through and the bumpy, rocky roads. It's not about just going to work on the tarmac road. You must go uphill, you must go down, you must climb up, something like that. And how then do I consider aspirations myself? I consider aspirations to be anything and everything, conscious and subconscious, that forms an assemblage of people's thoughts and voices about their future lives, their agencies and lived experiences informed by or informing those futures and the associated success, fears, frustrations, and failures. And here I'm basically borrowing from various anthropological and non-anthropological theorizations of hope, desire, wishes, ambitions, expectations of a good and satisfactory life. And I'm linking the psyche of these students to the prevailing structural conditions. In this paper, however, I'm not per se looking at aspirations, but I'm looking at aspirations from the perspective of home. So allow me to say aspirations in this paper are superglued to the notion of home by asking whether students want to establish a home in Hong Kong after they graduate. Home is a very messy term that carries with it physical, geographic, emotional, and romantic, as well as profane and euphemistic connotations. It has roots in Germany, initially referring to a house, a land-owned physical places, but later evolving towards imagined and material spaces of belonging. Home and cultural identities become more complicated when approached from a transnational perspective like that of the African students that are in Hong Kong. This is because, of course, geographical space and time tend to shrink in transnationalism. So when they are making decisions about where is home, their imaginations are moving to and fro. So they will think about Africa, they will think about Hong Kong, they will think about other countries. They will think about the existing socio-cultural, macroeconomic, and geopolitical forces. So nevertheless, African students say they wish to be in those places that are stable and institutionally capable of offering them opportunity and growth, but still value and revere their traditional or cultural roots. I started talking to the Africans as early as 2019. In one of my earliest conversations, one student was strongly considering reapplying for a PhD in Canada because the Hong Kong protest was soaring relentlessly. Unfortunately for her, as the severity of the protest eased, COVID-19 took over as the new and more brutal source of uncertainty. Nevertheless, she's still in Hong Kong and now more permanent since her husband secured a teaching job in the city. Expectedly, some students think Hong Kong would be a wonderful place to call home. The city offers them several objects of desire, and by this, I am borrowing from Belland, who says it's a cluster of promises. We want someone or something to make to us and make possible for us as embedded in a person, a thing, an institution, a text, a norm, a bunch of cells, smells, a good idea, whatever. Cosmopolitans say they can live anywhere in the world. A student narrated how his erstwhile multicultural experiences in Australia, India, and Scotland helped him to remain calm when one of his colleagues suddenly became cold after their supervisor applauded his work ethic in a departmental meeting. So they're in a meeting, then the professor begins to say all sweet nothings to others, to this particular student in the presence of the other students. And so they become a little bit jealous. But because these other students are senior and my informant needed to ask something from them, so he approached them, and this is what he says. Our offices are next to each other. I needed to make a confirmation of something that I wasn't sure of. She's been in research and has worked with the boss for a very long time. Maybe my timing was poor, and this is where the cosmopolitan aspect comes in. Because when I went to ask her for that, she said, I don't want to talk to you. I have much more important things to do than talking to you. She said these words to me, you know, just go and do it. Now, culturally, looking at a woman telling me to fuck off, basically she was telling me, go and shit yourself. You know, I really felt so shitty because of the way she looked at me and the way she was doing her gestures. But I never said anything. I just said, I'm sorry. Now, look, I'm not really bracketing the women here or the Asian women. For all I know, an African woman could have reacted the same way, or even a male person could have reacted the same way. But I'm interested in the way in which my informant reacts or responds by becoming calm, by apologizing and really saying, I'm sorry, and linking it then to the cosmopolitan aspect, the fact that he's been to other countries and understands different cultures. Some, frustrated by the economic and political shenanigans of Africa, quickly make comparisons. Hong Kong offers better lifestyles, access to wider food varieties, and with money, more quality, well-built and architecturally glamorous buildings, good transport and health systems, and overall good governance, even though the locals may think otherwise. Some even cite scenic beauty and tourism opportunities the city provides. Some students allude to their scholarship money of between $2,000 and $3,000 per month. A recipient of the Hong Kong Ph.D. fellowship scheme said, I'm a rich man. If you convert this to my home country currency, I'm a very rich guy. A studentship holder said, the money is good, of course. You can accumulate what people back in Africa don't get. Now, how does this relate to their post-graduation desires or homing? If scholarships are so generous, then the idea of getting a job in the city or staying on for business or other ventures is attractive. Most students claim to be financially comfortable during their study periods. I must say there are degrees of variation here between those that are receiving the Hong Kong PhD fellowship scheme and those that are receiving the studentship, those living with dependents and those living without dependents in the city. Many on studentship bemoaned having to pay tuition, while those with dependents mentioned expensive rentals outside school campuses, which reduced, I quote and unquote, their chances of enjoying the money. The amount we are paying for rent, says one student, you can use it to rent a big flat with big rooms in Africa. Nevertheless, these findings really show that their homing aspirations are much about money as they are about education and other things. Some students claimed affinity to Hong Kong's good education system and the value of a Hong Kong qualification. And I mean, this is true because Hong Kong universities rank highly in the world. An informant now lecturing in the United Kingdom said products from Hong Kong universities are highly sought after. He was expressing how he was blown away and appreciated his educational homes, the City University of Hong Kong, where he completed his PhD, and the Chinese University of Hong Kong, where he gained his valuable postdoc experience. His idea of home is not only based on affinity, but as Adam says, its ability to promote his self-development. For many students in the scientific and business fields, postdoc opportunities are their best shot at staying in Hong Kong, despite them being ambivalently short-term. I frequently asked why they choose to be stagnant in postdocs with limited chances of becoming faculty. Some mentioned reasons like academic links and portfolio growth, but others simply said as long as it is not in Africa. This means Africa is sometimes a constraining home that limits their agencies. Some students secured industrial and teaching jobs after using the immigration arrangements for non-local graduates, IANG, which supports the extension of visas post-graduation to seek employment. Their contracts, however, were usually short-term and insecure. Some students say that home is only in Africa and mentioned family, culture, and other reasons. These left behind spouses, children, parents, siblings, and investments like houses, cars, businesses, etc. One student married in December 2020 said to me recently, I would want to go back to Ghana for family reasons because I am married and my husband is in Ghana. But as to whether after that I may live for other parts of the world, I really cannot tell. For now, it is a possibility. Some students had exceptionally good jobs and would rather go back to them. Others were limited by their active and binding contracts with African employers. Others still touted the African environment as better for raising children than in the hot, crowded, fast, expensive, and lonely city of Hong Kong, even though we know that certain African cities hold similar characteristics. Now, I want to break down some of these things. I spoke to the wife of a PhD student who expressed concerns about space. This is what she said to me. Some people are blessed because their kids can play outside, can play and make noise. With us, our neighbor will quickly hit the walls. If I meet them, I will tell them that this is a baby. What do you want them to do? Why would you get angry when a child is playing? It's hard not being at home. At home, you are free to do anything and the space is too much. We have a 3-bedroom flat with very big rooms, a sitting room, and a pantry. And I can confirm that this person, they actually ended up moving to another apartment because of the challenges that they were having. A former student, now based in Africa, gave his views on why his family could not join him. He said, if I bring a child in Hong Kong, I have to take that child to school. There are issues related to language, culture, money, and everything. So it wasn't that easy for me to bring the family. And as you can see from that receipt there, from one of the kindergartens in Hong Kong, they're paying almost about $200 equivalent. And the school fees per month, school fees can actually go up to about 500, 600, even $1,000 per month. Now, another PhD student found it strange that the city looks to be on the rush. He said to me, here at times, you want to go for a walk and you just want to walk slowly, but people are speeding and you feel you must also speed. The way of life is different here. Everything is in the rush. It's clear that these people come from comfortable middle-class backgrounds and conditions that are really different from those that they experience in Hong Kong. For traditionalists, China is not home. It's not where their families are or where they are rooted. It's not even part of their own cultures. One student said to me, home is always home and home is always the best. Another said, in terms of development, I would rather be in Hong Kong, but in terms of socialization, I would rather be in Africa. I really don't see myself staying here after my studies. I feel that no matter how long I stay here, I am not home. For some, it is either Hong Kong cannot or is increasingly difficult to make home. They say the Chinese culture is seclusive and discriminative and cited appearances of racism on the mass transit rail and other social spaces. One student narrated his experience and says, one unfortunate encounter was with a policeman. I was very calm that day. We were coming from the MTR and there were a lot of people. He stopped me and asked me where my ID card is. I said, to all the people you met, you didn't ask. And you are coming to ask me, what are you saying? Students complained about the scarcity of their cultural cuisines, even though there are known restaurants that serve such dishes. Some expressed the difficulty of learning Chinese languages, which predisposes them to live on the linguistic and cultural margins, even though English is widely used in Hong Kong comparative to mainland China. When I attended one recruitment and employment seminar at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, I was surprised to see no African. But when the presenter highlighted the centrality of local languages in getting a job, it made sense why they absconded such seminars. Some students pointed to the national security law as a reason Hong Kong was an uncertain home in their future. But this was not an overarching reason for them. They reasoned that they are not in China to protest or to make trouble with authorities, but to pursue educational and other aspirations. They said, however precarious, the changing situation in Hong Kong is far better than they have seen in Africa. One student actually said, if these Hong Kong people think they are suffering, take them back to Nigeria, take them into the streets for 2 weeks, not 5-star hotels, then bring them back to Hong Kong and ask them again why they are always complaining to the government. Now, again, I'm not trying to misrepresent Nigeria. There are many people that are rich in Nigeria. There are many people that are living large in Nigeria, and there are nice places also in Nigeria. I'm simply reflecting the views of my informant. Now, I want to bring this to a close, and the 3 basic points can really be concluded from this discussion. Some African students want to make Hong Kong their permanent home. Some want to make it their temporary home. Some do not want to make or even see the city as their home, or it is increasingly difficult to make it home. The first group aspires to jobs, permanent residence, marriage, reunification with their families, etc. The second group wants to make money, even if via their scholarships, and go back to Africa, get temporary jobs until they secure a future in other countries, make use of the benefits associated with Hong Kong, etc. The third group wants to pursue jobs or postdoctoral studies elsewhere, return to their jobs, reunite with their left behind families, manage their investments in Africa, etc. Now, before I am crucified for putting these people into a category, which is obviously difficult, allow me to say that it would be difficult to separate the 3 groups due to the unpredictability of opportunities and life course circumstances, which cause people to constantly shift their aspirations. Nevertheless, the transnational socio-cultural and economic landscape and conjunctural and site-specific histories, policies, imaginations, and narratives influencing their aspirations and homing decisions are clear to see. Whether it is deeper issues like language, economy, family, politics, or general reasons like scenic beauty and individual preference, their homing aspirations are formations of structurally embedded agency. Moreover, students apply home subjectively. Some say the city can be home, others say Africa is home, others say home is elsewhere in the world. Some mention imaginary and sentimental homes based on their senses of attachment or belonging, while others discuss their cultural and geographical upbringings. Home as conditions of permanency for some and impermanence for others. Yet, despite their longing for opportunities, stability, and growth, it is near impossible to make Hong Kong a permanent home for many, owing to the reasons that I've just discussed. One student said to me, Hong Kong is a place where you come, you do your business, and you live. And the question remains, will Hong Kong ever be home for the African students? And we wait to see. I thank you.